3 years ago, Narendra Modi took office as India's Prime Minister. There were sky-high expectations about what he would accomplish as an economic reformer, based primarily on his successful track record as Chief Minister of Gujarat. At the 3-year mark, we're all taking a look at whether or not he has met those expectations, and I'll focus on specifically how he's being perceived by the international business community. The international business community, I think there were 4 broad areas where they were sort of hoping that he would be an economic reformer. The first is those that were hoping he would dramatically open up the door for foreign direct investment. The second group was hoping that he would lead India to deeper trade integration, primarily through trade agreements. The third group was hoping that he would add a new level of domestic consistence of regulation, instead of having wild swings of regulation that had driven some foreign companies away from the market. The fourth group was hoping for deeper domestic deregulation that would open up new opportunities and add transparency. So the first group, looking at foreign direct investment, I think that group has widely been satisfied. India has moved on about 30 foreign direct investment caps over 3 years, which is a historic pace based by recent standards. Sectors like defense, some parts of retail, railways, construction, very important areas, including insurance, that they've opened up to higher levels of foreign direct investment. The second group, those that were hoping Modi would be more of a free trader, I think they've been disappointed so far. One of Prime Minister Modi's first decisions after taking office was putting a freeze on the World Trade Organization Trade Facilitation Agreement. India has amended its model bilateral investment treaty and reopened talks with other partners and made the treaty a lot less accommodating to foreign investors. And India's existing trade agreements that were underway have largely been paralyzed under the Modi government. The third group, looking at more consistent domestic regulation, that group I think has also been very concerned by what they've seen. India's regulators continue to intervene very heavily in the market, making it very difficult for investors to plan over 5 years or 10 years based on certain expectations about how their products would be treated for cost and for distribution and things like that. The fourth group, those that were hoping for stronger domestic deregulation and opening up new areas, that group I think has largely been satisfied, though it certainly is going to be a slow process. Sectors like mining, like coal, like oil and gas, they've seen a real step back by the government and allowing the private sector to thrive, which opens up the door for foreign companies to take a fresh look in those sectors. But a lot of domestic deregulation actually falls to the states to carry forward. So the fact that Prime Minister Modi is naming and shaming and ranking states based on their business regulations, hopefully that will lead over the course of many years to stronger deregulation for domestic industries. So by and large, the foreign investment community that would like FDI rules lifted has been pretty happy. The traders, I think, are still pretty concerned over what they've seen in 3 years. Those for domestic deregulation, I think, are pretty satisfied. Consistent regulation have some concerns. But overall, what India cares about most, of course, what do the numbers look like? What is this translating into? And there, the story is overall quite positive. In the last 12 months, India attracted about $45 billion in fresh equity of foreign direct investment. And that's considerably up from the year before and making India really the top destination for foreign investment. Even on trade, India's trade deficit has actually come down over the last 2 years. It's the first time in 30 years that India's trade deficit has dropped in consecutive years. That's driven by luck, low oil prices, so we'll see whether that's sustainable. But by and large, I think the foreign investment, the foreign business community looks at Modi, they like what they've seen over 3 years, and they hope the next 2 years, as the government strengthens its hand due to state elections, will dig even deeper on economic reform.